become a legend, a victim of tragedy, who emerges as a symbol of justice.
What the hell are you? I'm Batman.
But what drives a billionaire to become a crime-fighting vigilante?
You got an angry man in pain, seeking purpose in his life.
And how do Batman's motivations reflect our own?
He is struggling with the very things that you and I struggle with every day.
Now, go inside the mind of a superhero.
His whole life is a quest to restore meaning.
As we use the real-life tools of analysis.
There's a technique for people who have fears. It's called exposure.
To unlock the psyche of Bruce Wayne, Batman, and the villains who symbolize our darkest desires.
I am gonna stop you. You're just a freak, like me.
Hey. Stace.
What?
What the hell?
Crime fighter. Avenger. Vigilante. Hero. Batman is as complex as he is contradictory.
Bruce.
Rachel's told me everything about you.
I certainly hope not.
Exploring his character can be a revealing test for the viewer. Because in Batman, we can find the heroism, the fear, and the darkness inside us all. The brainchild of creator Bob Kane, Batman debuted in the pages of Detective Comics in 1939. It was the decade of the Great Depression, urban expansion, and violent crime. Since then, billionaire Bruce Wayne and his masked alter ego have been shown as everything from a mob-crushing crime fighter to a kid-friendly superhero. But by the end of the 20th century, Batman had taken on a darker, grittier, and more realistic tone as writers and filmmakers began adding layers of psychological motivation. In the 2005 motion picture Batman Begins, one of the keys to understanding Batman's psychology lies in a universal emotion: fear. In the film, young Bruce Wayne develops a paralyzing fear of bats.
Took quite a fall, didn't we, Master Bruce?
And why do we fall, Bruce? So we can learn to pick ourselves up.
Fear is one of the fundamental psychologies of childhood, and learning how to deal with the fact that we will be afraid, but we will go on to do things despite our fears.
You know why they attacked you, don't you? They were afraid of you.
Afraid of me?
All creatures feel fear.
Even the scary ones.
Especially the scary ones.
One of the interesting things about Batman Begins is it gave us a little more glimpse into the young Bruce Wayne. He tends to be a fearful and anxious kid, which is a very interesting choice in temperament to give him. It's almost like he's starting to have a panic attack in the play where it's a callback to the bats when he fell in the bat cave.
Can we go?
He causes his parents to leave the theater because he gets really anxious.
Please.
Okay, let's go.
Central to the Batman mythology is the notion of choice. That's very, very central to everything. The Batman stories portray the alternatives of good and evil, life or death. In Bruce Wayne's case, he was confronted with the most horrible tragedy one could imagine.
Wallace, Joey, come on, fast. That's fine. Here you go. Hey!
Bruce Wayne is a very plausible character psychologically. Kids generally, even if they're not directly responsible for some terrible event, generally personalize the event and take responsibility for it.
Don't be afraid.
He feels guilty because his fear caused them to go into this dark alley, and they died as a result of it.
The death of Bruce Wayne's parents is an integral part of the Batman mythology and was first depicted in the November 1939 issue of Detective Comics. It has continued to be incorporated into almost every telling and retelling of his early history.
Here's a kid who, at a very early age, learned that security is temporary, is fragile.
It was my fault, Alfred. I made them leave the theater. If I hadn't gotten scared.
It was nothing that you did. It was him.
It raises a question, which is, am I ever going to be secure? Can I ever trust anybody who won't also be taken away?
I miss him, Alfred.
And Bruce Wayne is a person who essentially has answered that question, I'm never going to be safe, so I better take matters into my own hands.
Rachel, this man killed my parents. I cannot let that pass.
You have the ultimate psychological moment of Batman. They're in the courtroom where his parents' murderer is on trial, and he has a gun in his pocket, and he has to decide whether or not to use it.
There is a member of the Wayne family here today. Has he got anything to say?
That's the character's moment of growth and judgment.
When people experience a traumatic event, it often calls into question fundamental beliefs they have. And this is the way that trauma can be a very powerful, positive force in inducing growth. With Bruce Wayne, he became dedicated to avenging, not revenging, but avenging his parents' death and protecting innocent people from criminal acts. And many people, in fact, who have experienced the trauma go on and become social activists in some way.
What are you seeking? The means to fight injustice, to turn fear against those who prey on the fearful.
His strength derives really from this extraordinary motivation he has through the tragedy of his parents' death and his attitude to it. And so you're looking at a character who has embarked on this crusade to fight crime.
When bringing the character of Bruce Wayne to the screen in Batman Begins, director Christopher Nolan found an unusual psychological parallel in a real-life historical figure, the 26th President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt.
Chris said, to me, the key to understanding the character is that Bruce Wayne is Teddy Roosevelt. Roosevelt's father was New York City's great patrician benefactor. He started the Museum of Natural History. He was one of the founders of the Children's Aid Society. And there's a similarity to Thomas Wayne, who was the great philanthropist of Gotham City.
People less fortunate than us have been enduring very hard times. So we built a new, cheap public transportation system to unite the city.
Like Bruce Wayne, Teddy goes through deep family tragedy. His mother and wife die on the same day. He goes off to the Dakota Badlands, probably to kill himself. Reforges himself in that situation and comes back and becomes this insane police commissioner bicycling through the city in the middle of the night. He's the Rough Rider, what we know as the iconography of Teddy Roosevelt. That's really the psychology that plays out in Bruce Wayne.
Your anger gives you great power. But if you let it will destroy you.
In the comic book histories, the timely appearance of a bat in Bruce's study gave him the idea for a crime-fighting alter ego that could avenge his parents' death. Originally called the Batman by creator Bob Kane, this second identity was inspired by popular characters like Zorro and the Shadow, wealthy crusaders who cloak their crime fighting behind a secret other self. In Batman Begins, the motives for Bruce's transformation are more psychologically based.
People need dramatic examples to shake them out of apathy, and I can't do that as Bruce Wayne. But as a symbol,
What symbol?
something elemental, something terrifying.
In the film, Bruce chooses to adopt the appearance of a bat because it's a creature that embodies one of his greatest fears.
The symbolism of using the bat is he's conquered those fears. And there's a technique that mental health clinicians use for people who have fears. It's called exposure. And the idea is in a planned and purposeful way, you expose yourself to the things that you're afraid of. The movie portrayed exposure incredibly well. He stays with the fear until he calms down and sees that he's okay. It's just a wonderful example of how people become afraid of things and they can become unafraid of them.
The murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne instilled a sense of purpose in the life of their orphaned son. But as Batman, that life is far from easy. And each day, Bruce Wayne's psyche is divided between his normal self and his secret identity, which raises a fascinating question. Who is the real person? Bruce Wayne or Batman?
People are dying, Alfred. What would you have me do?
Endure, Master Wayne. Take it. They'll hate you for it, but that's the point of Batman. He can be the outcast. He can make the choice that no one else can make. The right choice.
For decades, Batman fans have embraced a hero whose character would unnerve us in reality. A man divided between his daytime life as a philanthropist and businessman and his nighttime crusade as a masked avenger who operates outside the law.
He is trying to integrate this ever-going conflict that he has between good and evil with the person that he thinks he is, more importantly, the person he wants to be.
In the early 20th century, Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung explored the link between the conscious and the unconscious mind. Jung believed that in all of us, a struggle wages between the socially acceptable self and what Jung called the shadow side.
Batman embodies the shadow side. He looks like evil. He operates like an evil guy.
Where are you?
Here. He operates outside society, and yet his values are the values of a virtuous man. He is a perfect union of the two sides of all of us, the good and the evil that coexist in human life.
Theatricality and deception are powerful agents. You must become more than just a man in the mind of your opponent.
In the film Batman Begins, Bruce's choice to take on the identity of a bat not only taps into his own childhood fears, but into the fear most people have about the flying creatures.
In popular culture, a bat is a threat. It comes out at night. It's something you can't really see, but it can bite you, can suck your blood.
So what Batman does is take the iconography of evil. Look at medieval paintings of devils, demons. They have often horns and bat wings. Bats in every culture except the Chinese that I know about are symbols of evil, of the dark side, of death, of Satan. And that fascinates us. People are always fascinated by evil. Partially, I think, because it's an unacknowledged part of every one of us. And Batman puts that in your face.
Why bats, Master Wayne?
Bats frighten me. It's time my enemies shared my dread.
History has a lot of examples of people taking symbols that are initially negative, initially hateful even, and getting ownership of them. In the Nazi era, homosexuals were branded or forced to wear a pink triangle. Well, in recent decades, the pink triangle has become a symbol of liberation for homosexuals. Bruce Wayne's done the same thing. He's taken a symbol of all that is scary, unpredictable, and chaotic in the night, in the world, and owned it.
By the same token, You could say that the choice of a bat, which is able to soar above society, upwards towards the heavens, represents this aspirational purpose or dynamic that seems to be motivating his behavior.
Well, well, you took my advice about theatricality a bit literally.
He's created this symbol, and that symbol can't have limits. He can't show weakness ever. And so you have the fight between what is good for Bruce Wayne and what is the right thing to do for Batman, and the two of them are not always compatible.
Of course, there are other ways of channeling anger and loss, like psychotherapy.
Well, why doesn't Batman just go into therapy? Why does Bruce Wayne just go into therapy and then be cured of Batman? The reality is that the Batman persona is the true persona, in our opinion, the way we handle the stories, and that Bruce Wayne is the mask.
Batman's just a symbol, Rachel.
No, this is your mask. Your real face is the one that criminals now fear.
Which is the true man? The Bat or Bruce Wayne? Since the birth of the superhero era, a lot of psychologists have talked about the multiple roles that we play in everyday life. There's an identity that we play with our spouses, identity we play with the coworkers who work beneath us, and the coworkers who work above us.
For Batman, you've got the billionaire playboy, which I think most people would say is not the real person, and that's just a persona, it's an act. Then you've got Bruce Wayne when he's not playing the playboy, and then you have Bruce Wayne when he's wearing the Batman costume. They're facets of the same core personality.
Which is the real identity? Is it Bruce Wayne or is it Batman? And I think the really cool answer, of course, would be to say, oh, it's Batman. But I think that that misses the point. What defines the character is the essential humanity that Bruce Wayne possesses.
You are my greatest student. It should be you standing by my side, saving the world.
I'll be standing where I belong. Between you and the people of Gotham.
The core of his identity always remains Bruce, because it's his formative experience as Bruce that fuels both. Batman is a tool he puts on to accomplish what he needs to do.
If Batman's true personality remains a subject of debate, so do his motives for fighting crime. History and fiction are filled with figures who remind us that one person's hero is another person's vigilante.
In the letter of the law, Batman is a vigilante. He has identified the white and the black, the right and the wrong, and lives by that code much more strictly than anybody else does. Laws are open to interpretation. Batman's law is not.
Where were the other drugs going? I don't know. I swear to God. Swear to me!
We have always glorified various vigilantes, whether we're talking about Robin Hood, robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. There is this persona that makes us feel good. The problem is that when we start engaging those behaviors in an organized society, in a way that allows the citizenry to make a determination about who should be punished and how and when, we run the risk that their idea might not match up with the idea of the masses.
What he's doing is really outside the law. But as a citizen of Gotham, he really didn't have any choice because the law was so corrupt, he couldn't work within the law. But on the other hand, Batman has one rule. He will not take a life.
I will not become an executioner. He's got systems that he orders his behavior by to try and restrain his natural instinct for violence or for revenge or whatever dark impulses that drive him.
A lot of what makes him Batman is the ability to control himself, to be able to be disciplined. In many situations in life, success requires that we regulate our impulses. Somebody drives into a parking space ahead of us, and instead of ramming into him, which I'd love to do, I suppress that. I exert self-control. Self-regulation is like a muscle. We have, all of us, a muscular ability to regulate our impulses. Bruce Wayne is a man who's developed that muscle. He has worked that muscle out. So now he has a stronger capacity for self-regulation than anyone else. That's almost his superpower, the power of self-control.
If you finally learn to do what is necessary, I won't kill you.
Occasionally, Batman's critics have accused him of suffering from a hero complex, an obsessive compulsion to help others and right wrongs, as defined by psychologist Carl Jung.
Batman has this obsession with keeping things under control and making sure that the law is obeyed and that the innocent are not hurt. But his obsession leads him to pretty much cut out from his life anything that doesn't add to his mission as Batman.
He's obsessive compulsive about that. I wrote a story once where he's in the middle of an important business meeting, and it's late in the afternoon. He's discussing $1 million business, and he stops paying attention, and he's simply watching the sun go down. And the second the sun vanishes behind the horizon, he goes, "Meeting's over, I've got to go."
He cannot stop being Batman. It's much easier to stop being Bruce Wayne. So once you understand that, then you can understand why he is motivated and why he continues to behave in the way he does.
Batman's behavior includes his choice to deny himself a lasting romantic relationship.
You once told me that we'd be together.
Bruce, don't make me your one hope for a normal life.
Did you mean it?
Yes.
Bruce Wayne's very capable of falling in love. You might even say that's his Achilles heel, almost his kryptonite. He can have the greatest technology in the world, the greatest weapons in the world, but his heart has no shield. His heart can be broken. So if you're Bruce Wayne, falling in love is a very dangerous thing because it's possible that the person that you fall in love with will get hurt as a direct function of that person's affiliation with you.
You look nervous.
He doesn't want to love that openly with the fear that that person might be lost to him the same way his parents were.
This is what makes him a hero. It's easy to make a choice if it has no consequences for you. With Batman, the consequences are monumental. Not just life and death, but the kind of life that he lives.
Though Batman recognizes the line dividing justice and injustice, other Gotham creatures of the night see no such distinction.
There's nothing to fear.
And these denizens of darkness relish the chance to perform acts of unspeakable evil.
And here we go.